School board meeting on November 21st, 2017. We are at the Alcolina Howell Center. This is the organizational session of the Leon County School Board. And I note there are 4 members present. We're currently missing Ms. Rasmussen. I think she's on her way. And we do have Ms. Richardson, our student school board member. I will be serving as the chair of the meeting pursuant to state statute, at least at the beginning of the meeting. And our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. So at this time, if everyone would please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, this is exciting. So our first item on the agenda is to elect a new board chair for the coming year. At this time, I would like to open all nominations for the office of board chairperson and ask whether there are any nominations. Madam, Ms. Bowman.
Chair, Mr. Superintendent, yes, I nominate Alva Striplin as chair.
Second.
Are there any further nominations other than Ms. Striplin? Hearing no further nominations, nominations for the office of chairperson are now closed. All in favor of Alva Striplin becoming the next chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So based on your votes, 4-0, Ms. Alva Striplin is now elected to the office of chair by unanimous vote. Congratulations, Ms. Striplin.
Congratulations.
Yay. Next item on the agenda is the election of the board vice chair for the coming year. I will now open nominations for the office of board vice chairperson.
I nominate Maggie Lewis Butler.
Ms. Maggie Lewis Butler has been nominated. Are there any further nominations?
Need a second.
Oh, I need a second on that.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bowen. Any further nominations? Nominations for the office of vice chair are now closed. All in favor of Ms. Maggie Lewis Butler, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I hear 4 votes unanimous for Ms. Maggie Lewis Butler. So based on your votes, Ms. Maggie Lewis Butler is now elected to the office of vice chair. Congratulations, Ms. Lewis Butler.
Yay.
Our next item of business is to elect a representative from the school board to the City Commission Liaison. I would now like to open nominations for the office of City Commission Liaison and ask whether or not there are any nominations.
Yes,
Ms. Lewis Butler.
I nominate Ms. Joy Bowen.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think we have to ask Ms. Bowen if she'd like to accept that nomination.
Well, yes, and thank you, Mr. Superintendent. I really had my eyes on the county commission.
On the county commission?
Yes, I really did, but
That'd be fine.
okay, good. I decline. Thank you, Ms. Lewis Butler, and we'll move right on.
So do we have another nomination for the City Commission
Then we'll
Liaison?
swap over and put Miss my colleague, Miss Roseanne Woods, City Commissioner.
This is sort of a surprise.
You look so excited. Congratulations. All right, so do you accept the nomination?
I guess so. Will anybody take the Transportation Committee? Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Glad to hear that. So hearing a nomination of Ms. Wood in a second, I ask are there any further nominations? All in favor of Board Member Wood becoming the next liaison, please say aye.
Aye.
I hear 4 votes, 5 votes. So based on your votes, Ms. Roseanne Wood is elected to be the City Commission Liaison by unanimous decision. Congratulations, Ms. Wood.
Thank you. So is Ms. Bowen now, we didn't vote on the County Commission.
We didn't get there yet.
Okay, we're going to get
We're
there. All right,
next.
great.
The next item on the agenda is the election of the County Commission Liaison for the coming year. I will now open nominations for the office of County Commission.
Nominate Joy Bowen for the County Commission.
Second.
I accept.
Board Member Bowen has been nominated by Ms. Striplin, second by Ms. Rasmussen. I ask whether there are any further nominations. Hearing no further nominations, nominations are now closed for the County Commission Liaison. All those in favor of Ms. Joy Bowen, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I hear 5-0. So Ms. Joy Bowen is elected to be the County Commission Liaison by unanimous vote. Congratulations, Ms. Bowen. Yay. All right. Next, we need to, as a point of clarification, election of a member of the school board and alternate to serve on the Florida School Board Association's as legislative liaison. Currently, Ms. Rasmussen is in that position and will continue to serve as your representative through June of 2018, and Ms. Bowen will continue to serve as vice chair until the alternate until June of 2018.
Yes.
So, ladies, thank you for your continued service in this role, and I believe we have a conference 2 weeks from now, the week after Thanksgiving.
Right.
We're very excited to hear what they have to tell us about this coming year. So, Ms. Rasmussen, Ms. Bowen, thank you so much for your continued service, and I guess we'll take this up when your positions expire at the end of June.
Mm-hmm.
So the next item is to verify the names and addresses of the 5 district school board members and make sure for the record if this information is correct. First, our new chair, Ms. Alva Swafford Striplin. Current address, 3607 Donegale Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32309. Residential Area 1, years remaining in term 1, month and year term expires November of 2018. Is that correct, Ms. Striplin?
Yes, that is.
So noted. Next, Ms. Roseanne Wood, 2264 Grassroots Way, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311. Residential Area 2, years remaining in term 3, month and term year expires November 2020. Is that correct, Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Thank you. So noted. Ms. Maggie Lewis Butler, 419 Mercury Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32305. Residential Area 3, years remaining in term 1, month and year term expires November 2018. Is that correct, Ms. Lewis Butler?
Yes.
So noted. Next, Ms. Dee Dee Rasmussen, 2777 Westbury Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32303. Residential Area 4, years remaining in term 3, month and year term expires November 2020. Is that correct, Ms. Rasmussen?
Yes, sir.
It is so noted. And then finally, Ms. Georgia M. Joy Bowen, 2505 Fritz Lane, Tallahassee, Florida, 32304. Residential Area 5, years remaining in term 1, month and year term expires November 2018. Is that correct, Ms. Bowen?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. So next, if you would, board members, turn to item 1.03, which is a calendar for the coming year. I am recommending that we stay with what we currently have in place, the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, and I'm asking for a motion to adopt the proposed schedule as recommended.
Move adoption as recommended.
Second.
Ms. Striplin has motioned. Ms. Bowen has seconded the motion. All in favor of the proposed schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The proposed schedule is adopted by a unanimous vote. At this time, I would like to recognize our chair, outgoing chair, Ms. Bowen, for some comments. So, Ms. Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for the opportunity just to thank this board of women, superintendent, who's not a woman.
But sometimes feels like one. That's okay.
That's okay. I think that we're a good board, and I simply want to thank you tonight for having chosen me to lead this board over the last few months. I've enjoyed every moment of it. You are fantastic. I know that this county is in good hands when I look to my right and I look to my left, and even to reach out and touch our new counselor, Ms. Williams. When we started on this journey in January, we were excited, and I remain excited today, because I found in us as we were talking our need for information and our need to be informed about what was going on in our district, and it is our district. And so I was fired by that opportunity to make sure that our way of work would be very clear, and we discussed that. And so in January, we hosted our very first way of work session, which was facilitated by Andrea Messina, the CEO of the Florida School Boards Association. And that sort of set the tone for us. And we have been heavily trotting ever since to make sure that we carried out those things during that workshop session that we wanted to. And I have here just a list of those things. I'll try not to go into each one of them, but because I think that the better informed we are as school board members, the better equipped and able we will be able to do our jobs. As a matter of fact, I think it's almost all right to be almost oversaturated with information, because the more information you get from constituents and from the staff of the superintendent, the better able I think we are and we have been in making our policies. And so on the blue sheets there that's been prepared, you will notice that we started out with our way of work, talking about the calendar options, talking about construction and bidding process, the cost of student stations. We continue to talk about our legislative platform for Leon County Schools, our school choice legislation, construction and facility updates, the controlled open enrollment. We were by that time in March. We even gathered community input on what we were doing. We brought in the Florida Sterling Council, the organizational assessment for the final report. And by April, we were talking about restorative justice and other support programs for students. We discussed water quality, early childhood best practices, workshops. We wanted to be in the know. Our superintendent heard us and his staff heard us, and so they have been workshopping us just as we should have been as elected officials to keep abreast of what was happening in our county. So by May, we were talking about the foundation for Leon County Schools, the world-class schools, elder care. We had a good time talking about and attending the Peace Jam, Ms. Rasmussen. Then in June, the Sharon Tree, and all that word concurrency that we'll probably still be talking about a little bit later on that we still love so much. Water quality, Florida Safe Schools assessment, and now we're into July. Continuing contracts were very much on our mind, and the superintendent was sharing information. And again, we talked about concurrency updates and district properties. We continue to talk about the use of district facilities, property management action, experts in the field, our testing calendar, new student information, and then we were visited by Hurricane Irma. We, after the superintendent and his staff, did an outstanding job of making sure that our schools were safe and our citizens had places that they could go to seek shelter. We're given a debriefing about that, and that was handled just beautifully. So then we started to talk about school choice, policy 5120, 5121, all of those policies that we gain information from after we listen to our DAC, after we talk to our other constituents, and engage in the kind of information from around the county. By now, it's October, and we're still talking about prevention, safety, and equity services updates. We continue to talk about the Lively Technical Center, instructional materials, the School of Excellence, and of course the CNG and diesel updates. I mention these things because if you don't know what you're dealing and working with, how will you know what you're supposed to do? And this is just a short list of where we were trying to go. I could go on, and you know I could, but there are two things that I really must mention right now. I really do think that we have done an excellent job in talking about our budget and in talking about our audit and making sure that we were taking steps to ensure that the progress of transparency continues to be above board where we talk about the money and our auditing process. I'm so proud of this board and how hard we worked. This does not even include the visits that you made to your schools. This has nothing to do with the stops in the grocery store and those other wonderful calls when there might be constituents who may not be in agreement with us. I've been on this board a few years, and I cannot remember another time when we have had this number of workshops. This may be a first. I dare not call it historic, but since some things are, I suspect that it is. Now, many of you have heard me in the past talk about that Thorpe Street corridor. And I suspect I'll be talking about it some more. But when I talk about Thorpe Street corridor, I want you to know that you know that I am not talking about it in the exclusion of the other districts represented on this board. The reason I feel as good as I do, Ms. Richardson, is because while we come from single-member districts, each one of us realize that we are one district. We make up the whole. We are the e pluribus unum. That's mispronounced, but you know what I'm saying. Out of one comes many. And so if we continue along those lines, I know that the achievements that we will have will continue to be great. And so we're a good board. I think we owe our public our continued attention and our continued promise for the safety of our children and to be accountable for what we raised our hands to do. You remember? You do remember that? So I'm expecting that we will continue to do that. And so we owe our public a certain standard, I think, of integrity. I have to throw that in because right now there's so much happening in the world and I think it's forgotten, you know? And so I hope that we will continue to do that because, again, I need to say nobody's perfect. I just needed this opportunity to thank you as I move on down to seat number 5. You are outstanding. I look forward to what you do. I'm pleased to be a member of this team, and this team is Team Liaison. Thank you very much. You have an outstanding staff, and I'm excited to have led and look forward to what we shall do together. Thank you.
If I may, Madam Chair, before you change seats, I want to thank you. I mean, it's hard to believe now it's been a year for Roseanne and I, and I was nervous sitting here, but you calmed me. You were like my mother up here. I mean, I mean that. I mean, I cannot thank you enough for your leadership and how you've treated me this past year, and I've learned so much from you, and it meant a lot. And you have so much to offer, and I've always listened to you from afar, but sitting up here with you on this dais, I couldn't have asked for anything better. And you are a wonderful leader and such an asset to our school system. And I just can't thank you enough for the way you took care of Rocky Hannah. That means a lot. It won't be forgotten.
Thank you. Okay.
Do we all get to say something?
If you'd like, yes.
Okay, good. I just want to echo what you just said, Superintendent. Joy Bowen, I've known you for a long time when I was a principal, and I always admired you, but I really got to know you, of course, this past year, and I think your leadership's been outstanding, and you just have a lot of wisdom, and you combine it with so much joy. You're so aptly named because you really do bring that beautiful spirit, and thank you for your frequently just wise insights that you offer us and offer the community, and I just appreciate your service so much. And thanks for making me welcome too. It's my first year. I really have felt included, and I think that's a lot to do with your leadership. So thank you so much.
All right. Well, at this time, this concludes the reorganization part of our meeting, and I'm going to bring this portion to an end, and I'll pass the gavel down to our new chair, Ms. Striplin, and she will reopen our meeting. So, meeting adjourned, and we'll take some pictures. Give Ms. Bowen some flowers.
Far in, right down the road.
That's a long way.
I'm just slide chairs down. Okay, are we standing right? Are you sure? I mean, no.
I'm no Chris Petley, but I'm gonna try my best. And 1, 2, 3, smile, cheese. All right, I'll put lots of filters on it. Got it.
We like filters and thin filters.
These will be right here for you after the meeting.
Oh, we have to move.
Now we change we at recess now for a minute. This. Water. I gotta make 2 trips. Yeah.
They all the same? I don't know.
Yeah, I need that. It's slip out of the chair.
It's D. Crumpler's fault we don't have decent chairs. I know it.
You all right?
Now they won't let you.
Good. Okay. We're gonna be classmates.
You okay, Miss Mary?
Madam Chair.
Are we all ready? Everybody good? Set? All right. At this time, let's see, we recessed, right?
Yes.
We called the meeting back to order.
We open the meeting and then
Start at 2.0. Okay. Yes, Ms. Lewis Butler.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I thought I could get by without talking about my colleague, Joy Bowen. Joy Bowen and I go way back. You know, God has been so good because we met at Florida University in Cropper Hall. We were neighbors. So you can imagine how long ago it's been, and that we come full circle as rattlers back together again on the school board. So we, after a meeting and being classmates at Florida University, living in the same dormitory, and then watching, getting married and children, our children knowing each other, going to the same school. And then one day she coming back to be an administrator at Florida State University and called me, and we went to dinner. And then joining the same church, you know, our life has just been full circle. So because of her leadership and her family style and her good nature as a person, this is why she's here, to represent Leon County School Board. She has to, in order to be a school board member, it takes more than just being a person. You have to love people, have a passion for people, and then do the job. It takes commitment, dedication, and a lot of time. And that's what Joy Bowen has. Thank you, Joy, for being that person.
Thank you, Maggie. Appreciate that.
Yes, Ms. Rasmussen. Madam Chair, and I won't belabor the points that have already been belabor them. Okay, but I did want to acknowledge my friend and colleague Joy Bowen, but especially in light of this year of transition that we've been in, and I think it. I would, at the same time, like to wish you, Mr. Superintendent, a happy one-year anniversary, almost to the day, I think, just about. You know, chairing this board for a year at a time, which is merciful, isn't it? That every year seems to have its own season and its own space, and there have been easier years and more difficult years, and this has not been a difficult year, but it did present interesting times for all of us to learn to work together. And I think we've done that, and I think we've shown that we are a strong board that has a common goal, and that is to put our students and our kids and our teachers and our classrooms first. And so I thank you for that, and I thank you for helping him become the leader that he's becoming. And and so with that, I wish you the best, Ms. Striplin. I know you'll do a great job. Yes. Welcome to the chairmanship.
Thank you.
May you enjoy it as much as others have.
Well, before I turn over my most favorite part about being vice chair, that's reading the changes and additions, I would like to just make a quick, yes, ma'am.
Pull your mic down because they always, okay, you're good. They get me
That's about as down as far as it's going to go.
That's fine. Good.
I would like to take a minute just to echo my sentiments to Ms. Bowen, especially because as the last year has passed, the thought was in the back of my mind, that might be me next year. And I was very aware of what I thought she did successfully, and I know Roseanne explained she did it with wisdom, which I would agree with, and joy. But for me, it was grace. You have a presence of grace about you, especially when people go over their 3 minutes, which that to me, I'm like, how is she going to handle this? I'm like taking notes over here. And you just handled it with such grace, and I can only hope to be as gracious in this role as you have been, and as kind, but yet strong and powerful. Just a very unique combination of traits, and very big shoes to fill. I'm sure that I won't be able to do it, but I'll miss you down there. All right, this brings us to 2.01, changes and additions. Ms. Lewis Butler, are you prepared? Are you ready?
Might as well be.
Go for it.
The superintendent recommends approval of change in addition to the November 21st, 2017 school board meeting agenda as presented. Number 1, item 18.03, the superintendent recommends approval to advertise amendment to policy package 5112, entries requirements, 5120, assignment, school choice and reassignment, 5121, control open enrollment, for a public hearing and adoption on January 9th, 2018. Replace documentation, further clarification was needed, the school board members and the superintendent.
Only one, that's awesome.
That
We have approval of the recommended changes and additions.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and second. I'll approve.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 3.01, Superintendent Spotlight.
We have no spotlight this evening, but we will have a couple we'll bring back in December.
All right. Number 4.01, recognitions. I believe we have with us a very special student from Deer Lake Middle School, my most favorite, because it was my home school for 5 years where I taught, and very happy to have Miss Michaela Shaw with us today. She is with VSA Florida, October 2017 Students of the Month, and I believe we have a presentation.
Hi. I'm Susan Baldino, the Regional Program Coordinator for VSA Florida, the state organization on arts and disability. And with me today is Vicki Lightfoot, Marcus Scott, the Vice Principal at Deer Lake Middle School, Vicki Lightfoot, the ESE teacher at Deer Lake Middle School. We have Jennifer Morgan, and then her daughter, Michaela Shaw. The VSA Student of the Month program recognizes extraordinary talent and the impact that art makes on students with disabilities throughout the state of Florida. Student artists not only develop creativity, but gain self-confidence, problem-solving skills, and a greater capacity for language and math. It is with great pleasure that I present the VSA Florida Student of the Month Award to Michaela Shaw. Thank you, Michaela, for making our world more artful and a lot brighter. And thank you, Vicki Lightfoot, Michaela's ESE teacher, for nominating Michaela for this prestigious award. Michaela deserves this honor. She is a rare artist who creates characters and designs of great beauty and appeal. As Vicki says, for Michaela, art is her love, her connection, and her passion. Michaela has autism and came to Deer Lake Middle School as a 6th grader just last year with very few verbal skills. When she arrived at Deer Lake, she knew no one and was unresponsive where it concerned her academic work. She couldn't complete it. Instead, she would spend her time drawing. After working for months with a Deer Lake art teacher, Michaela turned from a shy outsider to an engaged participant who shared her knowledge of art with fellow students. And she recently joined the Anime Club with the hopes of meeting like-minded friends. Michaela's nomination demonstrates that art is a form of communication. Today, VSA Florida recognizes a unique and outstanding talent. Thank you, Michaela. We are giving you a trophy engraved with your name and also a gift certificate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I just want to say a few words, actually to invite all of you to our program at Deer Lake Middle School. We have a unique situation. We have a class of 10 students. We call ourselves the SMART program, Students Making Academics Real Time. And from the day that the program started, we learned to ask ourselves not how smart we are, but how are we smart? And I think Michaela has found out how she is smart, as each one of the students in our program are searching for. But thank you very much for the opportunity. I know it means the world to her and to her mom and to me. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
Michaela, we'd love to take a picture with you, Michaela, if you'd let us. Would that be okay? Awesome. It's such a beautiful trophy. We want to capture a photo of it.
Very cool trophy.
Awesome sauce.
Congratulations.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to reports to be heard. Item 5.01, District Advisory Council, Dewana Moore.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
Mr. Superintendent, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and other members of the Leon County School Board. I am pleased to have been chosen as your newly elected chairperson for the District Advisory Council. And I will be providing a brief summary of our November 9th meeting. The meeting opened at 6:01 p.m. by Dr. Gale, and it proceeded with introductions of everyone in the room. We also had approval of the minutes and the agenda for the evening. We started with our best practices. One of them was presented by Dr. Kathleen Rogers, entitled No Place for Hate. She gave a slideshow presentation, and she also stressed that the number one priority of this office is to suppress all forms of bullying in the district. Next, we had the Leon County Volunteer Partner and Mentor Opportunity presentation from Ms. Kelly Walker. She came and gave us a presentation about volunteering and mentoring in Leon County. And she also informed us that the volunteer program started in 1969 and it's still going strong today. So we have a lot to brag about there. The Foundation for Leon County Schools, Mr. Nick Maddox, came and gave us a presentation about all of the wonderful things that the foundation is doing for Leon County schools, teachers, and students. And he also said that they were just coming off of a wonderful soiree that was held at the Goodwood Museum on October 9th. Safe Schools and Routes to School, Mr. Eric Gooch, an engineer from the city of Tallahassee, came and talked to us about the plans for sidewalks, for new sidewalks and current projects that are underway in the district and how long those current projects are going to take to be completed. We had a presentation from Ms. Stephanie Bowden with Comcast Cares. She came and gave us a brief overview about the many opportunities that Comcast has for our schools and about the Comcast Cares Days that will be fastly approaching. We had an election.
Lucky you.
And then we started to discuss school board policies 5112 and 5120. Dr. Gale and Ms. Jamie Holloman gave us a presentation of both of those policies, and the council passed both policies unanimously. And this is the report of the District Advisory Council. Thank you.
Well done.
Well done.
Right. Ms. Rasmussen.
Ms. Moore, thank you for accepting the nomination and agreeing to take this post. It is hopefully it's not thankless, because we will thank you often, but it is not a light lift, so we're grateful for your service. Will you tell us just a little bit about yourself, how you got on the DAC and then landed here?
I am a teacher at Appalachia Tapestry Magnet School of the Arts.
Awesome.
I teach there. I've been there for about 7 years now, under the leadership of Dr. Iris Wilson. And I started out as a member of the SAC committee for my school, and I was elected chairperson at the school.
Oh, wow.
And so I was secretary for the District Advisory Council, and a position was open, and someone nominated me. Thank you, whoever nominated me, and the body voted, and they elected me as chairperson.
We appreciate your service, especially after teaching all day long, so thank you.
Thank you.
And please give I'm sorry.
Ms. Lewis Butler.
Okay, I wanted to say, I watched her grow up as a baby child, and I know your mom, Dr. Warrington, is looking right at you because you reminded me so much of her when you came up.
This is Dee Dee.
You're so awesome.
Thank you.
God bless you.
And you have a great
we
name,
appreciate you.
clearly.
We thank you.
It is a great name.
You know,
Ms. Bowen.
thank you. I've got to remember that I'm down here now. I kept thinking, I know that voice, and I couldn't put it together. That's little Dee Dee, who's now Big Dee Dee.
Big Dee
Now
Dee.
Dewana Moore, but who is the baby daughter of my sorority sister Eva Wanton.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
that voice.
That's right.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. And thank you for the fine job that you're doing. Your mom would be proud, and we're
Thank
proud.
you.
And we're certainly happy that whoever nominated you did so.
Did
Yes,
the right
ma'am.
And
thing.
do give to Dr. Wilson a hello, would you?
I will do that. Thank you so
Dee
much.
Dee. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. That's okay. And just please know that we do value what you're doing. It's not, this is not a role that comes to us and we just kind of, pass it on. We actually really value the DAC and what they say, and a lot of what we pass goes through you guys first, and we value that collective voice before it ever gets to us. So please know you're greatly appreciated, and you're not just sitting on a committee that no one really cares about. This is really, really important. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
5.02 Student District Advisory Council, Landon Coles.
So Landon isn't here today. Our Student District Advisory Council meeting was actually canceled due to a security concern at Leon this past week. So hopefully we will be able to bring a report at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. 5.03 Title I Advisory Council, none to date, I believe. 5.04 LCS Audit Committee, Pat Weaver, Audit Committee member. Don't believe I see Ms. Weaver with us tonight.
They are, Madam Chair, Mr. Stubbs is here along with Ms. Paul come on up. They're all yours.
Good evening to everyone.
Good
Good evening.
My name is Alan Stux. I'm the chair of the Leon County School Audit Committee, and I have a report from the Audit Committee. I want to first thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the activities of the Leon County School Audit Committee. I noticed in your agenda it say Pat Weaver. I am not Pat Weaver. But Pat couldn't make it, so it fell upon me to be here, and I was more than happy to be here. I forgot when I accepted it that yesterday my wife and I celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So my wife is a little mad with me because we didn't leave town.
Congratulations.
But I'm happy to be here to get this report.
Of course.
This is our third report of the board within the past 8 months. The Audit Committee is extremely appreciative of the opportunity to provide quarterly updates on the activity of the committee and to share any recommendation the committee consider worthy of the board consideration. Tonight's update will focus on topics discussed at our last Audit Committee meeting, which was held on Friday, November the 4th. The committee held a presentation from Ms. Lavicia Paul, Director of Internal Audit, which included the history of the internal audit challenges that's impacting the office and the discussion of the office internal audit annual work plan. The Audit Committee had a detailed discussion surrounding the annual work plan, gave a current staff, based on the current staff level. We made some recommendations for minor modification to the plan. The modification, the annual plan is included in your board agenda for tonight. It's under your item 1705. The committee will monitor the annual work plan at each Audit Committee meeting and provide recommendations, modifications, and update to the board as necessary. The committee received an update on the status of the recent issues and current ongoing audit reports. The 3 Florida audit journal reports were discussed. The first one was the Florida Audit Journal Report number 2 of 2018-27. Informational Technology Operational Audit was issued on November 1st, 2017. There was one finding in the report relating to strengthening security control for users. The specific detail relating to this finding was discussed to avoid the possibility of the district of having some conflicting in the IT resources. The Audit Committee was informed that the Correction Action Plan had been fully implemented, so everything has been straightened out to address any concern noted in the report. The Florida Audit Journal Office is currently conducting 2 additional audits of the Leon County School District, operational audit and financial statement audit. The Auditor General Office have not provided any information regarding the issues of the final report for either of these audits. Again, thank you for the opportunity to provide an update and an overview of the activity of the Leon County Audit Committee. Our next report to the board will be in February 2018. The Audit Committee member who was supposed to make it tonight, Pat Weaver, should make the report at that time. We open up our reports to all board members to come and make a report as the time permit within their schedule. So everybody get the opportunity to come before you. As a reminder, Audit Committee meetings are held 4 times per year during the month of July, October, January, and April. The next meeting of the Audit Committee is Friday, January the 19th, 2018, where we hold elections for officers and everything. This agenda would include a discussion of the district implementation of Correction Action Plan and respond to prior audit findings by the Auditor General Office. That concludes my report from the Audit Committee.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, our best to Mrs. Stokes.
Thank you. Thanksgiving to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
All right, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, at this time, I'm going to recess the board meeting. Do I gavel for that? And I hereby call the annual meeting of the Leon School Board Leasing Corporation to order. Old business. The first item on the agenda is old business. Is there any old business to report?
None.
Number 3, new business. The next item on the agenda is new business. Is there any new business to report?
None.
Number 4, persons to be heard. The final item on the agenda is persons to be heard. Are there any persons to be heard?
None, Madam Chair.
Hearing none, I move for the adjournment of the annual meeting of the Leasing Corporation and reopen the regularly scheduled school board meeting. Okay. All right, item 18.02 is a public hearing and adoption. The superintendent recommends following a public hearing, approval of new policy 2800, education services for students in Department of Juvenile Justice programs, effective November 22nd, 2017.
Okay, as shared with you before, this policy is basically a change in number where staff realized that it would be best under number 2800, and it's just a renumbering. There has been no changes in the policy.
Awesome. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion.
Madam Chair, I hate to interrupt.
Sorry.
Make sure that you open for a public hearing. We have no speakers, but we
Okay.
do have to actually open and then close the public hearing.
All right, so we are opening for a public hearing.
No speakers.
No speakers, closing the public hearing. Now, there was a motion.
approval.
By Ms. Wood, second by
Ms. Rasmussen.
Ms.
moved it.
Rasmussen, thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, 18.03, superintendent recommends approval to advertise amendments to policy package 5112, entrance requirements, 5120, assignment, school choice and reassignment, 5121, controlled open enrollment for a public hearing and adoption on January 9, 2018. Y'all want to go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Superintendent, and all board members. As you know, this is something that has been, for lack of a better term, a labor of love with all of us. This is something that the board, you did not take lightly for us to look at this policy, make some adjustments. Just want to take you down a little bit of the process that you as staff to follow with policy 5112, 5120, and formally 5121. We renamed the policies, we condensed some policies, and we are going to share information about the policies. You have a gold folder before you, and within that gold folder you have the PowerPoints for policy 5112 that we're going to quickly go over. As our newly elected chair of the District Advisory Council shared with you earlier, these policies, after your input and after working with staff, they were shared with the District Advisory Council, and specifically policy 5112, which deals with student assignment and entrance requirements. It was passed unanimously. There are not a lot of changes within this policy. I'll quickly go through the slide. You have a copy of that within your folder, and it is attached to board docs, so the public has this information as well. This basically deals with entrance for any child who is of school age to be enrolled in Leon County schools. It talks about what information is needed that parents are going to need to bring forward to any school so that they can get their student enrolled in our school. And yes, we do want all of our students in the Tallahassee area in our schools, all of the students who qualify. It talks about immunization requirements and so on and so forth. There were no major changes to this policy. I'd like to, if it's okay with you, ask if there are any questions about 5112 at this time so that we can spend our time on 5120.
No questions? Thank you.
No questions at this time. Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to progress to policy 5120, and that is our school choice policy. You asked, as the board and the superintendent, if we could provide not only a PowerPoint presentation, but a one-page slide, if you will, talking about what is new with this policy, because it is a very detailed policy. It includes a combination of policy 5120, which was formerly school choice, reassignment, and so on, and policy 5121, which was controlled open enrollment. These are now merged into one policy, policy 5120. I would like to ask Jamie Holloman, who does an awesome job, loving her job in the school choice office, to go over this one slide that deals with revisions to policy 5120. Ms. Holloman.
Thank you, Dr. Gale. Thank you, Board. So the major changes for 5121 is due to the capacity of some of the overcapacity schools. We are going to have a lottery system in place for the overcapacity schools. So schools that have more applications than seats, we will process with a lottery. And so that's a major change this year. So we'd like to get that word out to everyone. And also, all the students that are approved for first time for reassignment, they now will have a deadline to enroll at each of their approved school, and that will be June 28th. So that way, for planning and staffing, we will know that those students are reassigned and approved at those schools. Another, it's always been a request, but now we need it to be a policy, is when you're when you're in your 5th or your 8th grade school year, we've always asked that you show your proof of residency so we can plan for you to go to your new middle school or high school. And now it's in policy that they'll have to do that. And that way we can ensure how many students are truly zoned for each school so we can plan for lotteries or reassignments. And also for sibling support, we will need proof for when you're requesting sibling support into the schools. And in policy 5120, this is just a quick summary, but it details what's accepted for birth certificate or marriage license for step siblings, court order, or so all that information is documented in 5120 in the policy. But these are the major changes, as stated.
We'd like to further go on with the slide presentation for policy 5120. Of also importance to this policy change, if we'll go to the third slide in that policy, please, that has priority school choice, which is the name of the policy, to briefly talk about the school choice options that are available and the priority of those particular options. Third page. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Do you want to briefly talk about those?
Yes, so this is the order of our procedures that we will process these reassignments in this order. And it 1 being active military, 2 being sibling support, 3 grandfathering, 4 over to under capacity schools, 5 would be employee choice, 6 would be hardships, and hardships would not be available for over or at capacity schools. Magnet schools, and that's if you're selected, they have their application process. McKay Scholarship is also subject to capacity, and controlled open enrollment, and that is subject to the lottery depending on the capacity of the requested schools.
And that's a great segue into us talking about the lottery. If we can go to slide 9 of that same presentation, because the lottery is a process. First of all, it is mandated by Florida State Statute 1002.31. And so if Jamie, and I'd also like to thank Jillian Gregory and the IT department for helping us with clarity on as far as the lottery process is concerned. If Jamie can briefly talk about the lottery process. Before she does that, please keep in mind that all of the applications for the school choice office will continue to be online. We went to that process last year, and that's going to continue this year. So, Jamie, if you can talk about the school lottery process.
Sure. So there's one application, regardless of the tool that you're going to use or the purpose that you need reassignment, there will be one application online. And for those students that will be, for the request for the schools over capacity, that will go into the lottery. It's not first come, first served this year, so we'd really like to get that out to the public that it's not apply very first day, January 5th, but being in that lottery up until March 1st. And then once all the applications have been received and the deadline is March 1st, then they will be in 4 different categories. And the categories will have also be the lottery. The students will be in the lottery for elementary, middle, or high school. So it'll be categories as well as the classifications of their grade levels that they'll need. Then, so that they're picking the first, second, and third choice for their seats, and we'll see if when they win that lottery, what seats are available, if it's their first, second, or third choice. I'm thinking of it. This is new to us this year, and it's big. So if there's been a lot of research and a lot of meetings and a lot of determination to make sure we're providing the best solution, and so we just, if there's any questions we can help with.
Ms. Rasmussen, just a suggestion that on this one pager under the lottery that you add, this is not first come first serve. All applications in by March 1st will be given.
Good idea.
Randomly
Thank you.
Selected number.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I just, for a minute, I want to thank everyone who's put so much effort into this. I know Ms. Wood's been very involved in the process along with the rest of the board. Jamie, obviously you face this on a regular basis, but this topic in particular is so sensitive and so emotional to a lot of parents, and I think it's very important that we take just a minute to talk about. And this comes with new superintendent, and his agenda for when he came was to find out why some of our schools are so overpopulated by kids who don't live there, and why some of our schools are so underpopulated, and where are those kids going and why. And it's led to a much broader discussion. When I first got here, there was not a whole lot of this discussion that we're having now, and it's some of it's very controversial, and we're not going to make everybody happy. And there's some very sensitive topics in this, but it's churned up a lot of very fruitful conversation. But the reason for some of these changes, I want everybody to know, and that they've been mulled over for so long, is to try to equalize some of our schools and not have hallways that are flooded and portables, and schools that are empty. We want the schools that students that live in those zones to go to those schools. And we're trying our best to make everybody do the best for all of our students. And we're not going to make everybody happy with this. There's going to be a lot of issues. And I know a lot of us, we receive phone calls, but just know that there is a lot of statistical work that has gone into why these things are happening. And Superintendent has really taken a very difficult topic, and with the support of the board is trying to face it head on. So we appreciate all the work you're doing, especially Jamie, because you get most of the phone calls. So thank you for everything.
Yeah.
Miss Lewis Butler.
Yes, I too would like to thank you and Ms. Jamie and Dr. Gale for all your hard work in this. And because when the word came on the news about segregation in our district, and I know that this is sensitive, and I know it's not, this is maybe just a small, minute way, but this is not the full answer. But I do know we got a new part, the lottery part in here, that and it's like wait and see.
Right.
It's just going to help with the segregation that we have in our district. Mm-hmm. And then we'll know how we might need to fine-tune the lottery or what else we need to do, because it may be something else we need to do. But we'll wait and see how this is going to work for, what is it, 2018-19. Mm-hmm. So thank you for your hard work.
Any other comments? All right, do I have a motion for approval?
Of approval.
So is there a second down there somewhere?
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work. This has not been an easy lift. 18.04, Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare Employee Assistance Program Agreement for the 2017-18 plan year. We still have someone speaking on this or no? Yes, Mr. Wimberly?
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Good.
Okay. This is a continuation of a prior agreement. There's really no changes. This is just to do a little bit of, hey, this is really a good deal. $32,836 per full-time employee. That's $7.36. We get services such as, not limited to, health, marital, family, financial, alcohol, drug, legal, emotional, stress, or other personal issues. People can voluntarily sign up for this for 5 times for free. They don't pay anything. And also, as the employer, sometimes we need to recommend people for this purpose, for them to be able to work for us. So this is a really good benefit for the school district at a bargain price.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Rasmussen, second by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. I think we can all agree if Merrill says it's a good deal, it's a good deal. It's a pretty tough nut. Thank you.
We got one more, I think.
Do you have 18.05 as well?
Yeah.
Okay. 18.05, participation of Leon County Schools in the City of Tallahassee Optional Solar Farm Electric Service Rider Program.
About 3 months ago, the city sat with us at the behest of Manny Joannis and offered this program, and they're offering it to all the different institutions in this city, such as Florida State, FAMU, and they're all participating. This is only $30,000 a year. It's for 2 million kilowatt hours, which is 10% of what we produce. It's at 55 cents for the next 20 years. Right now, the current rate is about 3.5 cents. So the differential is the extra $30,000. That's only 0.51% of the electric budget. So again, this shows solidarity for the green energy movement, and I think it's a good thing to agree to.
Is there a motion?
I move the superintendent's recommendation.
I'm sorry, can I? It commits us for how long?
20 years.
Did you want to? I see there's somebody from the city here. I didn't know if you wanted
Someone want
to
to speak?
say anything.
Come on up.
Really?
I didn't know you were here. Nice to see you.
I just noticed the logo on the shirt.
I'm Lee Jones with the City of Tallahassee, and I was the one that made the presentation to Merrill a few months ago. So,
And Manny.
And Manny. It's available to everybody. In fact, it's already oversubscribed, so it's kind of closed. FSU and everybody else is already committed. We're making 37 million kilowatt hours a year from the first solar farm that's been built at the airport. Those electrons are starting to flow at the end of this month, so we'll start billing people the first of the year for that. We saved half of that electricity for the commercial class, of which you guys are the biggest fish in town and use up most of that. FSU, TCC, FAMU, and the portion that you guys are committing to is more than the 50% that we'd save for commercial customers. So we've already oversubscribed the first farm. We're putting people on a waiting list for the second farm. Right now, you're paying $0.015 per kilowatt hour extra for this power from the sun, but that price is going to be fixed for the next 20 years. And so as we expect the cost of regular generation to go up, it looks good for you. In fact, as it costs more to produce electricity from gas or coal or oil, you'll be actually paying less for this energy at some point in the future. So it's hedging against the increase in costs. The benefit of the program is you can get out anytime you want. Okay. Very simple notification. You can stop anytime you want. So there's no, even though it's a 20-year term, you can get out of the commitment anytime you want to.
But, not that I would want to. Just
you can't get back in.
Okay.
So you can't get out and back in. So if at any time you feel uncomfortable with this procedure, you can ask to quit.
So I think you already had a motion. I'll be happy to second it, Madam Chair. Thank you. Moved by Ms. Bowen, second by Ms. Rasmussen. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, I just want to say thank you for this initiative. I think it shows a lot of forward thinking on our part and the city's part, and I know all of us here are interested in our students learning more about how to be green and green energy and solar power, and so I'm just so happy that we're taking part of this. So thank you for those who led the way on this. I'm proud of it.
Madam Chair, if I may, it's really cool. If y'all haven't been out there,
I was going to say, can it be a field trip?
Yes, and I went about 3 weeks ago with some students from Heritage Trails, and I put up a couple of solar panels. I mean, it's an amazing project, and Merrill came to me with this thought a couple of months ago, and I said, yeah, I think we need to absolutely participate, and would encourage other municipalities and institutions in the city to participate as well. And we can see it's going to be the wave of the future, and I think it's very exciting.
Great.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this brings us to 18.06. And after some discussion yesterday about efficiency with our construction projects, I'm going to ask Mr. Albritton if he would read the item. I'll say the number, if you'll read the item so we're not being repetitive, and could give us, pardon me? If he can just summarize.
Summarize it.
Okay.
As long as nothing important is left out.
Okay. If you're ready.
Thank you.
18.06.
18.06.
18.06 through 18.09, I'll go ahead and hit you with these. They are all committee recommendations that, with board approval, will go back and negotiate a contract and bring back to the board. So 18.06 is the interview committee recommendation for Rippey Construction as construction manager at risk at Kate Sullivan Elementary School for the window replacement project.
If you could, Mr. Albritton, if you would give the dollar amount, if there is, or I don't believe there is in this one, but if there's any other pertinent financial information, you could put that in your as well. But we do need to vote on them individually, so we are talking one. I just wanted to make sure we weren't combining anything.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So financial on that one.
No, these are just to negotiate contracts, these next four.
Gotcha, thank you. Move approval of 1806.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Rasmussen, second by Ms. Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.07.
18.07 is a committee recommendation to negotiate with GGI LLC for the civil engineering services at W.T. Moore Elementary School for site improvements, drainage, and playfields.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Rasmussen, second by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.08.
18.08 is the selection committee recommendation for Pinnacle Engineering consulting services for the Aquilina Howell building fire alarm replacement project.
Move approval.
Second. Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.09.
18.09 is a committee recommendation for Pinnacle Engineering, also consulting services for the Cobb Middle School fire alarm project replacement.
And I believe this was a selection committee recommendation?
These are selections, yes.
Okay. Have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.10.
1810 is for approval for pre-qualified applications for bidding for Leon County School construction projects.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Rasmussen, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.11.
1811 is a release of retainage for Simon Systems for the Rickards High School Auditorium Theatrical Lighting Control Replacement Project.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.12.
1812 is a release of retainage for Sheffield Building Specialties on the Central Kitchen Roof Replacement Project.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Rasmussen, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.13.
1813 and 1814 will be change orders. 1813 is a change order for Ram Construction at the Lively Technical Center. It returns the direct purchase back to the project, $12,615.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Rasmussen, second by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.14.
1814 is a release of retainage Sheffield Building Specialties. It's a change order, It's the change order for Sheffield Building. It's the central roof replacement. It returns the contingency of $71,444.02.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Rasmussen, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.15.
1815 is a recommendation to approve a conveyance of the Concord Elementary School parcel, Cromartie Road, to Leon County. The recommendation is for the board to convey to Leon County the property at the old Concord School, more commonly known as Miccosukee Community Park. Leon County Schools and Leon County commonly work together through joint use agreements on the use and maintenance of athletic fields and public parks for the benefit of the general public of Leon County. Leon County Schools currently leases the buildings to the Boys and Girls Club. The Boys and Girls Clubs, Leon County, and Leon County School Board have agreed through an assignment lease that Leon County will continue the same lease agreement with the Boys and Girls Club they have currently with Leon County Schools.
And I believe we had some discussion yesterday that this satisfies a prior agreement that had yet to be satisfied, so this brings that agreement to a closure for both entities, both the county and Leon County Schools. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate the succinct public purpose statement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Rasmussen, second by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.16.
18.16 through 18.20 are contracts we're bringing to the board from the previous negotiations. So 18.16 is a recommendation for, or is a contract, excuse me. Yes, it's a consulting contract for McGinnis and Fleming Engineering for the Lively Technical Center fire alarm replacement. Their fees to design this will be $52,240.50.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Bowen, second by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.17.
18.17 is a recommendation, contract recommendation for Dewberry Engineering, their civil engineering services. It's a contract for Woodville K-8 school site improvements.
Can we, again?
The price is, their contract price for design to be $54,500.
Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.18.
18.18 is contract for Barnett and Fronsack Barlow Schuler Architects. It is for the Fairview Middle School Building 2 gymnasium. It's for the new construction, remodel, and renovation and site improvements in Building 2. Their fee, design fee is $189,814. And this is a estimated total construction project of $20 million as funding becomes available.
Move approval.
Yes. Second. Do we get a second for sake of conversation?
Second.
All right. Moved by Ms. Lewis Butler, second by Ms. Bowen. Yes.
And this amount will cover them preparing for us or public relations purposes an artist rendering of what we anticipate the renovations to look like?
This puts them under contract to begin the design, which will be phased. There'll be a original design, which we can get a rendering also of it.
Okay.
Do we have a time frame on when this might be available for the public to view? Ish.
It usually takes them around 4 months to do 100% documents, so probably within about a month we can have a schematic design so we can begin to show what the project's going to look like.
Okay. Same question applies to the next item? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion, or did we already? Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.19.
18.19 is contract with Hoist Arc Architects to provide design service at Rickards High School. This first phase is for site improvements, relocating the ball fields back on and doing some site work and demo work. Their fee is $373,330. This is a total estimated construction project of $30 million as funding becomes available.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 18.20.
18.20 is a contract with Albritton and Williams for a guaranteed maximum price as construction manager at Sealy Elementary School for the administrative renovations and security code upgrades. Their guaranteed maximum price for the project is $764,377.94.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Lewis Butler, second by Ms. Rasmussen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. Just a minute, and forgive me, this is a new role, and I'm thinking it's in here somewhere and I've lost it. Moore is in here somewhere, right? Didn't we just discuss
Yes,
Moore
ma'am.
yesterday? Yeah.
WT Moore was,
07.
yes, 1807.
18.07, okay, thank you. And I think, for the sake, if I might, Madam Chair, for the sake of transparency, just to note for the public that we, Representative Wood, I've promoted you.
In 1 year, you already represent. Look at you, high flyer.
Board member Wood's behest at the last meeting, we have taken a bit of time to evaluate the process through which we approve construction items. As most people know, for the last 2 years, we have painstakingly gone through every single construction item on the consideration agenda. We have agreed to find an appropriate balance between transparency and efficiency. And I think we've done that. And I predict it will save us about 15 minutes that we can then redirect to items of substance. So moving forward, we will look at a new process for moving some of these items onto the consent agenda, and then what we just did with having staff briefly summarize each item. I think that works well. So thank you.
Very excited about it.
I am too. Danny, that was awesome. Really good, really very well done, especially the part we explained Concord and the agreement to lead Boys and Girls Club there. I thought this was great, a wonderful new way of work. And you were very efficient and effective and got that message across. And what also needs to be not left unnoticed is all these items are also discussed the day before this meeting in great detail, along with workshops and there's a huge vetting process before Danny even steps up to the mic. So it's not lost on that. And I appreciate your detailed analysis of our last school board meeting. I'm not sure exactly when you did that, but
about 3 in the morning.
It was very insightful. I guess you had insomnia or something. It didn't have anything better to do but watch the replay of the school board meeting. But
Thank you, Denver.
yes. Thank you, Danny.
If I might, when are we, I believe we're going to change there were 2 definites that we were going to move to consent, and that was release or retainage and deductive. Can we expect to see those move to consent at the next school board meeting in December?
Yes,
and was there a third thing we were going to move?
What we're going to bring back to our keep into consideration were contracts and change orders.
Right. I was thinking there were 3 that were going to be moved.
Increase the amount.
Right.
And if it increased the time to the point that it became problematic for school.
Okay.
So
all right.
Of these 15 tonight, 10 of them would have been on consent.
And I think the public would agree with us that we're anxious to discuss other things other than construction. There's so many important issues out there. But on the flip side of that, there are 3 really important items on this agenda that touch things that that we've been talking about for a long time. This touches on renovations of Fairview and Rickards, the beginning phases of something that we hope is amazing and exciting. And I believe the superintendent has had some very productive conversations with some people who were opposed to the route we were having to go, and not by our choice. The plans were rejected by DOE for a new high school for 3 years running, and that's not a whole lot we can do about that. But I believe he has put the effort with the support of the board, and now you're seeing the fruits of the labor coming through. And then, like Ms. Bowen so eloquently and gracefully put it earlier, the Tharp Street corridor that she talks about so very often, she doesn't mean to place more importance on that than on any other district, much as you'll hear me talk about Welaunee and all of my schools busting at the seams and where are these kids going to go. And there is also an item on here that addresses that. W.T. Moore, some renovations and some changing of the way W.T. Moore was built to try to encompass a greater amount of students more efficiently. There's some expansion of ball field, of parking. We're hoping that it makes our friends at Westminster happy. There's all kinds of really important things on this agenda. So it brings to light it is important to talk about these things one by one and not to move them all to consent, because this is an indication of where we're going in our district and where our students are where we're going to see a lot of excitement going on. Again, I think the final kind of the down note of that is that as money comes available, this is money. We do not have the tree garden in our backyard. We wish we did, yeah. But this costs a lot of money, and we're hoping that our community can start providing us maybe some ideas of how we're going to generate these kind of funds to provide for our students in the way that we know we need to. So thank you. Great conversations we've been having about this, so thank you. All right, 19.01, upcoming meetings. Anything? Nothing. 20.01, reports from board liaisons. None to date. 21.01, superintendent's comments.
Briefly, Madam Chair, is this time of Thanksgiving, I just want to take an opportunity to say thank you to you 5 lovely ladies for this first year. And it was a whirlwind. It went by. It was just like a blink of an eye. I cannot believe it's already been a year. But I'm really proud of our efforts. I think we accomplished a lot in my first year as superintendent and board members Wood's first year on this board, but and more good things to come. Like Ms. Striplin said, I mean, had not lacked for money, we could move the world. But I am proud of the work we have done with the budget and our working relationship. I am. I mean, it's just amazing. And then with my staff and the new organization that we've surrounded ourselves with, I think it's just going to get better and better over the next several years. And I'm proud to serve as superintendent and proud to work with you and so thankful for you all. And I would encourage, like I told all of our employees, Thanksgiving is probably my favorite holiday because I don't have to worry about buying presents. and it gives you a chance to pause and reflect about what's really important in life and what can kind of wait. And certainly family and Ms. Bowen, just know that you've been in all of our thoughts and prayers with your family situation, and those are the things that are really important and in the work of this board and moving forward. And I can't wait to see what year 2 is going to bring. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, 22.01, continuing concerns from board members. I believe Ms. Bowen wanted to talk on the impact of population shifts on our schools.
Yes, I do. I continue to be interested in having this board decide that a district advisory committee take a look at the shifting populations and housing of citizens and how that impacts the populations in our schools. And I think that it would be important to have as much input on the topic as we can get. And I know that there's been some talk about there being already the DAC is formed to take on some topics. Those topics are generally already there. And there might be the Title I committee who has, in my mind, a singular focus to talk about whatever those needs are under Title I. This committee would be broader, deeper, and wider. We would be casting a wider, deeper net to bring into focus and into our hearing conversations about the shifting populations, how we got to be where we are as a school district. It would be a general kind of committee. It would not have to meet every month. It could meet 3 times a year. I am discovering as I talk to constituents that though we think we have many offices in place and all of us are so inviting, sometimes there are just folk who feel that, oh, it's not going to do any good, don't go out there and talk to them. They're feeling a little bit disenfranchised and the apathy that's there. And so I'm looking for a way to bring more input and information to us so that we can continue to make good decisions. I really think a citizens, I'm going to call it a good general citizens committee, could not hurt at all. I think we could learn from the John Q. Publics that might never show up at a DAC meeting or might never show up in one of these offices because they could feel, well, they're not going to hear me anyway. So that would be one or several of the things that this district advisory committee could do. And I'd like to flesh that out and hear more of what you think about it. I think it could serve us all well. We are at a place and time of, I think, transparency, and the more people we have at the table helping us in what we do and making sure they're understanding what we do, particularly when the population continues to shift in the way that it is going, I think it could serve, I dare not say as a buffer, but it could serve as a vehicle by which we could inform and keep our constituents from all of our districts informed about what we're doing and have them feel a part of what we're doing. Because when they don't, then they're going to fight against and yin and yang. And I think we now know that if we can have a listening ear, we may not tell them what they want to hear, but to be upfront with them and provide them with opportunities to talk to all of us as we start to carry out, I think, some of the wonderful work that we're going to do. So that's a synopsis of what I really think could work.
Any comments? On that note, I know we talked briefly yesterday about a retreat in December, and I'd love to have some feedback. So my thought was our way of work is pretty good. We've gotten in a good pattern. I think we're very effective and communicating well. So my thought was for our retreat, we would take Ms. Bowen's concern along with the chart that we looked at of schools and where the kids are.
Right.
Some possible, I know Superintendent had talked about maybe some little chunks where kids are going somewhere else anyway. Maybe we need to scoot them over a little bit, along with the overcrowding issues. So what are your thoughts on having a half-day retreat in December to cover a few of those things? And I don't know, we obviously need to have an agenda and a goal at the end of the day instead of just talking all day long.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because my idea is for there to come out of the discussion, I want the board to take some action after we talk about it. You know what I'm... Yes, after the discussion, what is it? I will make a recommendation, and then the board can react to that recommendation, and I guess that would help to clear it all up. Because just to talk about it and not to move on it causes me to think that we will continue to be where we are. So
Right.
we're on that same page. And this topic would include all of those items that led, I think, to that Democrat article that talked about resegregation. We want all of the stakeholders, all of the players to be a part of what we're trying to do.
So thoughts on a retreat?
I like that idea.
I like having a retreat.
Good.
If we can't do it in December, January, one or the other. January is probably more realistic, just thinking about the calendar. You know, I've talked a lot about really trying to figure out ways to inform our community in a public relations sort of way of what our schools do have to offer. Tonight we passed a really important, we haven't passed it yet, but we're advertising a new piece of it's not legislation, it's policy on choice, and it's going to affect a lot of people, and it's going to affect this topic. And so I think if we could narrow down, I'm really interested in moving towards solutions and have it solution focused. So, you know, I'm a big advocate of looking at magnet programs to see how we can work on some of our issues of resegregation, how we can work on informing our parents who are choosing not to come to public schools what we have to offer, and make it clear what great things we have at our schools, and if there's some things that aren't great, how are we going to fix them, so that people will feel like every school is a good school to come to in Leon County. And I would like to see that to be our thrust and our goal, and come up with sort of a solution-focused orientation to whatever this becomes, a committee or whatever, and then maybe we take it piece by piece and say, what can we do with magnets, what can we do with marketing, what can we do with our folks who are involved in housing. I'd like to hear a lot more about what's going on in Tallahassee. So if we can do it that way, I would be just so behind it and get people to come and say, here's what we think you could do, perhaps with magnet programs. Here's what we'd like to see you do with marketing. Anyway, I'd just like it not to be talk, but to be solution-focused.
Yes, totally. And we're on the absolute same page, Board Member Woods. I even see us inviting folk in who can provide direct information.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
We don't need to guess anymore. I mean, we got great information from the superintendent's staff the other night. Remember the long chart that Jamie did? That's good information.
Yes.
But to share that with others and to have them to come in, because we cannot tell people where to move, you know? And 5 years from now, when there's nobody left on the Thorpe Street corridor, when there's nobody left, no schools, folk are in the south side, somebody's going to want to know what happened. How did that happen? That sounds a little too head on, but when you really start to look at where we're going, who's responsible? Who's accountable? What should we have done? I'm trying to get us there. And the thing that makes us so good is because of the experiences that we've had, and you're bringing your piece to this, and each of us pulling these other folk in so that we can see that, yes, we are one big community and we can make this difference. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm excited about that.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you. To the point of having people come with expertise and information, there were several presentations at the Chamber Retreat this year that I think would inform this conversation. And one of them was, and I'm going to mess up the name, but I think he was the CEO or the head of the FSU Foundation, Real Estate Foundation. Anyway, one of the things he pointed out was future development around the Seminole Golf Course. Now, I don't recall if that was going to be targeted as like a senior population or a multi-generational family type thing. But in any case, these are the kinds of forward, they're already talking about these things however many years down the road. And I'm just concerned that the school district hasn't been at the table for those conversations. And maybe we can invite them to our table.
That's right.
To come and share with us what they're looking at 8-10 years down the road, and how that would inform our decisions.
That's right.
So.
I like that. I'll take
I
it.
think, go ahead.
Well, if you remember now, we did have Wayne Tedder and folks from the city that kind of gave us a layout of some of the developments and proposed developments. I don't remember there being a discussion around the Seminole Golf Course area, but
this was because this is from the FSU Real Estate Foundation. They are making the development, so it wasn't a part of the city discussion. This was the FSU guy at the Chamber Retreat over in Amelia Island. Different, in addition to what we had.
Seems like the city planners would be aware if there was any planned development with Florida State and their group, right? No, I mean I agree wholeheartedly. We need to know what the plans are, and have people at the table from the city and the county and the school board. That's why we have a county liaison, a city liaison, to go to those meetings and to have those conversations across different municipalities, and so we know what the big picture, the big plan is, so we can work together to address some of these issues.
If I can ask you guys, I think Superintendent and I could get together and talk about maybe where we want to be at the end of the day when we do spend this time together. But I would like to have your input on what you want included, and if you would like someone to come in to represent whatever point of view or statistical information, if you could gather that and send it as well. But I think we need to try to settle on something here in a week or two, and do it. I would like to see us do it in December, but I get where you're coming from, because January, I think with session starting, I know Dee Dee's going to that's going to be a difficult time.
Well, that's one thing that Dr. Gale and I talked about was session. We mentioned potentially doing something December 11th or 12th, and if you'd rather wait, it's really on you with session. I didn't want to feel like we were cramming something in a hurry before we were ready, but I also didn't want to push it back to where it started bumping into other obligations and other commitments. I think Board Member Wood's calendar is fairly clear unless she's going up to the Capitol. And I did talk to Senator Montfort, by the way, and said, I need her up here helping me fight this fight. And I said, she's coming. She was at the House Committee the other day talking about some of the new legislation that's trying to expand vouchers. I know you're going to be up at the Capitol as much as you can, fighting the good fight for us.
I am. And yes, I could meet in December to answer your question, if that's what the board prefers.
I think it was more Miss Rasmussen, because I think she gets...
Our board meeting already is the 12th, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have an agenda review on the 11th?
Yes, ma'am.
So were you wanting to expand that into a half
That
day?
was the initial thought, but if you would rather wait until...
No, that would be better than waiting till for me.
Right.
Personally. And
that'd be okay for me.
And I think between now and then, Chair Stripler and I will get together and develop an agenda and figure out what that's going to look like. and then get that information out to you. In the meantime, I also want to get to you, Dr. Gales, and give you a packet right after Thanksgiving. Jamie produced for me. She's got his whole team working. She has a guy at the county that's doing all this mapping, data gathering, and then folks over at TIS that are gathering information on what types of students are requesting school choice. What do they look like? What are their test scores? So she's produced for me a lot of insightful information that I want to share with you all, along with that who's going where, which also it's really cool to look at. You start looking at the shifts and who's coming from what school to request different schools from what parts of town as we start to look at making some changes. And
I have, and I will bring, courtesy of our new supervisor of elections, Mark Early, the big posters of our current school zones so that we can see how that relates to.
Right.
I would ask.
Excuse me. What are we trying to have this retreat in December or January?
December 11th.
December the 11th. That's that Monday. Okay.
So with that said, I would ask you guys to submit. Today's Tuesday, Thanksgiving, so maybe a week from Friday. That would put us like December the 1st. And we might need to actually gather questions and put them out to you, because again, I don't want us to sit and talk for 4 hours and come up with nothing. But I will say we're tackling a topic here that is not unique to us. It's not unique to Tallahassee. It's not unique to Florida. It's a situation that I think a lot of districts are facing all over the country. And if there was an automatic right answer, we would know somebody would bottle it and sell it, and we would buy it. But there's not. But I would like to know kind of what do you want to talk about? Who would you like to see there? And what end goal would you like to see come out of this? So we can try to have a goal at the end of the day and not just a lot of minutes from the meeting. That would be great. So I would ask you to do that a week from Friday. Submit to maybe to Dr. Gale, because she doesn't have enough on her plate. Sorry, Dr. Gale. That would be great. Thank you.
Of course, all of us will be at the school board retreat that week, the school board workshop. I don't know if we're... FSBA, excuse me.
We have a week and a half to get, we have a week and a half to do it.
That's
right. And it's just, and I'm not talking about 6 pages. I'm talking about a little email that says, these are my thoughts, and this might be where I would like to be at the end of the day. And like for Ms. Bowen, I would like to see a committee formed to study this. Some of the others, as we think about it over Thanksgiving, we may think of something that we want to come out of it.
You can invite people there as well.
But if we don't get it to them by that date, we're not going to be able to have a retreat by the 11th, and then we're going to be into January.
What time on the 11th?
It looks like maybe we're talking like 12 to 4-ish, maybe like a half day before agenda review. I don't know.
We'll
have to.
That's up to you if we want to do that morning.
12 to 4.
Maybe a half. We don't know yet. Let's wait on that, but I would block off the 11th.
Well, and Madam Chair, if I may, based on what I heard, I think I heard discussion and with an outcome at the end with the board voting. So it's not just a retreat. It would actually be a special board meeting.
I don't know. Can we vote on it the Tuesday night?
Okay, that's why I asked the question.
No, I think it's just kind of a goal, like a collective goal. Where would we like to see these conversations go? And it might be different for Roseanne than it is for Ms. Bowen. But I don't envision there's needing to be something to vote on. That's just my opinion.
I think we could get there.
You think so?
I think somebody might push us to kind of get there.
Okay.
At some point. But within our discussion, we'll know.
So can we notice for the meeting?
Exactly. I think if there's a possibility, I think it should be noticed as a meeting.
Put an agenda item that says something generic.
So it would be an agenda item workshop. So you would have a special meeting workshop. So the first part would be this discussion. If you all end up voting on something, fine. If you don't, fine. But then you can move into your agenda review.
Right.
Don't we always notice the retreat?
I was thinking we could notice it for the night.
I don't know if is the retreat noticed as a meeting, or is it noticed kind of as a workshop? It's noticed as a retreat. That's not. That's not a meeting.
Why can't we put the item to be voted on the night of the 12th in a generic form?
What it is.
Would you know what the item is at the time the meeting is?
We know the general topic, maybe.
I don't think we're going to have anything crafted and ready to vote on within 24 hours. I mean, if we do have something to vote on, could we put it on the following agenda?
They're saying January?
Yeah, let's vote on it in January. That way it has time to cook.
I raised the question. So you're still calling it a retreat. It's going to be essentially a workshop. Your retreats are not board meetings. There's no vote to be taken. So it's
Correct.
going to be a retreat, which will be a workshop. Okay. So that day, if you're having agenda review after, it'll be retreat, agenda review, workshop. Okay?
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, new issues from board members. Don't see anything. No. Persons to be heard.
I don't believe there are speakers.
And tonight. All right, any further business?
No.
Oh, move we adjourn.
Congratulations.